It's really hard to try to act tough when someone can tell you, hey, go paint your nails. Go paint your nails. Warriors bounce back in game 3 without Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is, they were going to hold the information until the last minute possible. He tried to work out, and Rick Celbrini held him out. We know how conservative Celbrini is, but it sounds like he could have played, but the Warriors, being the confident championship group that they are, were like, nah, they ruled him out. And so Steve Kerr not only starts Quentin Post, he starts Jonathan Kuminga. I thought it was a smart decision. One, because Moses has been struggling in the series, and to give Kuminga a boost in confidence. Like, all right, here you go. Here's the start. And he's matched up with Jalen Green, who had a huge break. What did he have, like 35, 36 points in that game too, where he was just doing what he wanted to, and he was dancing around with the ball. And I talked about not letting him be as comfortable. And clearly the Warriors recognized that. And I thought that was Kuminga's biggest contribution to the game last night. He only played 17 minutes, but there's a familiarity factor with he and Jalen Green, both playing for the former G League Ignite. And you imagine that they've had quite a few 1v1 sessions. And there's probably a little mental, now I won't say an edge, but I think Kuminga's like, nah, physically I know what I can do with you. And he sped him up, along with the team defense, showing a little higher, not giving him a runway and a launch pad to use that athleticism. And they executed the game plan defensively. That's exactly what I thought they should do. Is look, Şengün is one of the least efficient big men in the paint or at the rim in the league. And you saw why last night. And Draymond kind of got in his head. He was short-arming shots. He smoked a dunk. He just does a lot of weird, awkward stuff that can lead to inefficient nights. And so I thought that defensively, the strategy was there, but offensively, the game opens up and Fred has like a quick 9 points, 2 threes, hostage dribble and one. And it was like, well, that's not great, right? That's not great. And we survive another, what are these first quarters have all been like 15, 18 point quarters for both teams. So that trend continued. But Steph takes his first rest in the second quarter, and you've got like Looney, Post, Buddy. You had some funky lineups out there, and it started to look ugly. The offense started to sputter, and bad offense leads to bad defense, right? Some tough shots got Houston out in transition, and they build a double-digit lead. And I had tweeted out, I was like, I don't know if they believe right now. There wasn't a lot of talking, and you know what it was? There was a close-in of Draymond in his face, and he just didn't look like there was a lot of fight. And I was like, dang, do they, obviously, Steph believes he can do anything, and deep down they believe they can do it. But there are moments, emotional moments in the game. There's phases where it was like, oh, I didn't like the body language. And it felt like Houston might really take control about midway through that second quarter with the double-digit lead. Then the bat signal comes out, right? The bat signal comes out, and Steph's like, not so fast. And I had talked about in the previous game, one of the adjustments with how they were trapping him with the big. And in the first 2 games, the big was coming up level to the screen, and they were like, we're not going to let you split this trap. And they were kind of locking in and digging down and not letting him split the trap. And so towards the end of game 2, Steph was drawing it out. He was retreat dribbling and taking the trap out wider and then turning the corners on the bigs. And so, both these teams are going to make their adjustments. And one of Houston's adjustments was the big was shooting up even higher and more aggressive, not letting Steph turn that corner. But in turn, what that does is it opens up what Steph initially likes to do, which is split them. And so down, 10, 12 points midway through that second quarter, Steph comes out, Steven Adams shoots up super high, he splits it, finger roll layup. And then Buddy Hield starts making shots. What's he calling himself, Alfred? Alfred the Buddy. Anyway, Buddy, listen, that's the irony about the Jimmy, Buddy thing is Jimmy saying, don't dribble. I hate when you dribble. Like, he's being honest, right? What do they say? There's a lot said and suggest. He's telling you what to do, right? And all four of Buddy's 3-point makes last night, 1 dribble or less. And I've talked about it all season long. Buddy's shots, it's in his base. If he's on balance and his feet are settled, then he's the shooter, the prolific shooter that he is supposed to be on paper. It's when he's moving and he's shuffling his feet, he doesn't get on balance well. And so one dribble or less, Buddy knocks down 4 threes and just when you need him. You know, you have to, how long have we all been complaining about Steve sticking with him? Well, here it is, biggest game of the year up to this point, and Alfred shows up. Athletic alchemy. You guys know what alchemy is. It's the transfer of energy, right? The theory is energy, it doesn't disappear. You can't get rid of it. You can only transfer it. A lot of you know over the last few months, I've gone through a separation, big life change. And in that, I transferred some of that energy to the wrong place. I started vaping, something I never thought that I would do. But it's one of those habits where it's so easy to create because it's such a convenient one. But I was like, no, that's not who I am and who I want to be. So how do I alchemize that habit? Where do I transfer that energy? And I came across Fume, an award-winning flavored air device. No vaping, no nicotine, just natural flavors. I'll put the unboxing in the video. I got the Journey Pack. Super impressed with the quality of this product. You just stick the flavored pouch in, pop it on, and decide how much airflow you want. But this is a quality product. There's a weight and a balance to this. Because let's be honest, part of the addiction, it's physical. It's an oral fixation. It's something in your hands. It's something to play with, a built-in fidgeter, and something that you can keep on you to transfer that energy. And I can't be more impressed with the quality of the product. And more importantly, it worked. It worked for me, and I think it can work for a lot of you. Over 500,000 people have added Fume to their daily routine, and I get it. It's simple, it's satisfying without any of the downsides of smoking or vaping. So go to tryfume.com/alchemy or use the QR code and use code AthleticAlchemy to get your free Fume topper with your order of your Journey Pack today. And so it was one of those halves where you look and you're like, wait, we're only down 3 at the half? Because it felt grim there for a little bit in that second quarter, right? And you're like, I'll take it. Only 3 points. Kerr starts the same guys, QP and JK, to start the second half. And Kuminga had a pretty good stint of minutes where he took a weak side cut for a layup, and then he hit a drop step on Van Fleet. I think he had like 7 points. And look, we know he's not going to play as much when Jimmy returns. I still think that he can be involved and have an impact on this series just as a big live body and speeding up Jalen Green. I think defensively, you know, he's too reliant on his physical traits. There's not enough anticipation, you know, but I think that he can have his place in his moments. And again, I thought his biggest contribution was the matchup with Jalen and speeding him up. But let's get to the X factor of this series. Y'all know who I said it was, right? Big QP, Big Quentin Post. Now, we got a long way to go. And shout out to the Rocket fan in the comments from the last video. He said, please play more Quentin Post. Please do so. Like, that's good for us. I've been telling the Rockets and their fans all series long, careful what you ask for. Because the thing with Quentin is we all understand the spacing and the shooting and that quick trigger. He affected the game in every other way but his shooting. 12 rebounds, 3 offensive rebounds, but he was big. He was throwing Adams around. He was throwing at one point he had Şengün in some sort of Dutch oven lock, right? He was doing the most and getting away with a lot of it. And then defensively, he survived the pick and roll. The storyline was in part why Jalen Green got off. I thought it had just as much to do with the on-ball defense as the big in why Jalen Green got off in that second game. But you know, if Quentin gets up to the screen on time, he distance manages very well. It's when he's late, when he gets up there late, and now it becomes kind of a closeout situation. That's where he's dead to rights with his size and lack of foot speed. But when he's on time, he distance manages very well, and he has an understanding of that cat and mouse game that the centers in today's game have to play, where it's like, I'm kind of up, I'm kind of back, like that game. And so he was just a presence in the paint, and he deterred all the Rockets, stayed out of foul trouble, and was just a man on the boards, just a man physically. How about his one basket? He's like 0 of 4 or 5. There's 6, 7 minutes left, a 1-point game, and he comes from the weak side, gets to a 2-footed floater from like 17 feet. He's ready to play. He's ready to contribute, and I won't be surprised if he starts. Well, you imagine when Jimmy's back, does he go back to that lineup? I wouldn't be surprised if Quentin starts the rest of the series, to be honest with you, if they go big and slide everybody down a spot, right? But QP, the X factor to me in this series. And we can make arguments. Obviously, it starts and stops with Steph, and we'll get to him here in a second. But he just had a huge game, and I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. As far as Houston goes, Amen Thompson, I know everyone is intrigued with his potential and what he is going to be moving forward. And I think another part of it is we don't see this type of player often anymore, right? So many of these young players come into the league, they're so offensive first, and he's this defensive-minded, toolsy, big wing, so there's a lot of intrigue behind him. But let's be honest, last night, he looked real Ben Simmons-ish getting downhill. I don't know if you want to call them shots. I don't know what they were. What it was is he would get in the air, he would get to the dotted, and he just didn't want to shoot that ball, and it turned into these weird flicks. And again, credit Quentin Post for, what's the old saying? You can't teach 7 foot. Like if he's in the right spot at the right time and he's 7 foot, he was altering and deterring shots all night. It wasn't about the shooting from Quentin. But yeah, if they're going to let Amen, go like 5 of 14 or 15 and continue to just kind of coast into that zone area and not take shots that he wants to take, the Warriors are going to be more than gladly to live with that, as well as I'm willing to live with how many of those lucky shots did Şengün make last night? Those little push shots from the foul line, half of those shouldn't have even gone in, right? But what was interesting was as Amen continued to try to remain aggressive and he continued to miss these weird shots he was putting up, I thought it affected his defense a little bit because he was in his head thinking about, should I have taken, he's coming back down on defense and he's thinking like, should I have taken that? Should I have moved it earlier? And he's thinking about the possession, and he let Steph loose a couple times, right? And Steph, man, I don't know what to say, but I know the exact moment when I was like, oh, we have life. Okay, we're not dead in this one. And it was in the second quarter when he gets the finger roll, and then a couple possessions later, after a QP offensive rebound and 3, he in and out, beat a trap, and then got to like a fadeaway mid-ranger and went glass and did that little home run trot back. And I was like, oh, okay, right? And he just delivered down the stretch, and he did it in so many ways. By the way, he did it in his last good pair of shoes, the Curry 7s. It looked like some sort of custom purple. But it was interesting that he went to those shoes with that non-flow foam. It was actual rubber shoes. And again, the mid-ranger was going, the jab step, he was changing, he was just manipulating. And you can see him getting more and more comfortable with the different looks. The game of chess of, okay, here comes the traps. We're taking away the split. We're not going to let you turn the corner, right? And so Steph just gets going and does Steph-like things, right? Steph-like things. But I know I called QP the X factor. We got to talk about Weapon X. We got to talk about GP2. He just continues to show up when you need him, right? And I'm super guilty of it. We're all guilty of complaining about his availability because it's been a thing. We know that, right? But here it is, playoff time, Game-3. We're missing Jimmy Butler, and Weapon X shows up, man. And there was a possession, I want to say the second, maybe early third quarter, where it gets swung to him. He doesn't take the 3. It ends up back in his hands again. He doesn't take the 3. And then Buddy ends up dribbling it out of bounds. And I thought it was that moment where he flipped the switch and was like, all right, I got to be way more aggressive. I got to be way more aggressive here. And when they come up into those screen actions, he's such a unique short roller and roller, right? Because Houston's defense is so athletic and so rangy. They're very good at controlling the roll man. A typical roll man who's usually, 6'7", 6'8" and above, and going to look to finish above the rim. And, there's just the standard roll guy. GP2 is almost like NFL draft right now, right? I don't know what the Niners did. I don't know. I'll reserve judgment on that one. But what he reminds me of is he's like one of those undersized pass rush specialists that just has crazy hip bend and speed, right? And you just put him in on pass rush downs, and the defense is like, we're not used to this. This guy's like, he's only 220 pounds, and he just turns the corner hella crazy. It's the same thing with GP2 on that roll, where sometimes he doesn't even take a dribble. He'll be rolling from the 3-point line, and he'll just take one long step and then elongate and have that hip bend and finish all the way to, oh, that's right, he's left-handed. And so it's such a unique wrinkle in attack that teams aren't accustomed to, that type of player being put in pick and rolls. And once he passed up those 2 threes on that possession, I thought he flipped a switch like, all right, I'm just going to be aggressive. I've been in this situation. I have championship experience. 16 points, as well as just disrupting Jalen Green and doing what he does defensively. And it was one of the more calculated performances I've seen from GP2, where first quarter, he got Fred VanVleet with the old Chris Paul move. You remember that? Like, we're coming down in transition, like semi-transition, and he just like runs by him and stops and gets knocked over. I was like, okay, GP, that's some sneaky stuff, right? And then late, I know you saw this one, right? When he just ran through Dylan Brooks like diarrhea. He ran through his chest. He was like, oh, you think I forgot? You think I forgot? And that's what we were talking about within the lines of the game. Dirty this, dirty that. Is it dirty? When there's an opportunity to dole out punishment, if you want to, if you're that type of guy, then you can do it within the lines. And you saw, like, there was no complaint from the Rockets. Dylan Brooks, I was one of the first times I've seen him like show pain on a court. I know he has like that super spectrum strength, so it's hard to chip him up, but he ran through his chest and you could tell Dylan liked that, but he also knew it was within the lines of the game. Dylan Brooks was the one trying to set a screen in the backcourt. GP2 seen him from about 10 yards down the field, and that little pass rush specialist was like, oh, okay, here's my opportunity. Yeah, man. It was looking tough, but this obviously I don't have to explain how big of a win it is. Who else am I forgetting about here? I mean, it was a great team effort. Mo gets the little poke late. What I'll say about Moses is I felt like it almost appeared to me like he had less pressure on himself coming off the bench, got downhill a couple times, and then he hit a sidestep 3 there, late third, early fourth quarter. That's the shot. We all see that he struggles with the window to shoot because of the dip in his shot. But what's there is the pump fake sidestep take. I think that's what he's got to add and get comfortable with because he wants a bigger window to shoot. But this is a tough loss for the Houston Rockets after how they were feeling, and we bounce back on the back of the chef. The other encouraging thing is that, again, I think the advantage continues to grow to the Warriors with the experience. I know that one train of thought is the longer the series goes, the younger, fresher team has the advantage physically. But the Warriors have the advantage psychologically and with basketball IQ in figuring out the games and the adjustments that are being made. And what I'd point out is while Draymond, he's done his thing in the clutch, specifically defensively. He's gotten the big stops we need, and he's done what you'd expect from him defensively. But he's had 5 or 6 turnovers in all 3 of these games, and he hasn't shot the ball well. I don't know how many threes he's made, not many of them. We're up in this series, and we haven't got a really good Draymond game yet. Like, it's coming, and I think it's got a little personal with Şengün in the back and forth, right? And it's got him a little maybe out of pocket emotionally with some of the accuracy in his passes and some of the things. And it was you got to shout out the refs. Like, there's bad calls every night, but when he ran up on that dude, I thought they were tossing him. And so, overall, I can't complain too much about the officiating. And I think that, we're due a good Draymond game. Jimmy, you expect back game 4. And if the Warriors can take care of this cleanly here, I don't want to get too ahead of myself here, but it seems like they're figuring it out against this team. And, if we're going to be whole, we can get out of this series clean in 5 or 6 games. I think it'll be a big advantage because I see Minnesota, Los Angeles going 7. Minnesota takes game 2 in Minnesota. Big game by Ant, big game by LeBron. Luka, what do you know, is under the weather and just letting how annoying is it that Luka, I get it if you're not feeling well, but he wants to let everyone know how sick he is all the time. Every second he got, And to me, that's an ego thing because he wants to let everybody know, don't judge me. I'm not feeling well. If you're out there, play, bro. Like I don't like that from them. But again, the Minnesota Lakers series, I think it's going to be long. I think it may be longer than this Warriors Rocket series, and so it goes without saying that that'd be a huge advantage if we could get into round two with more rest than whoever's coming out of that other side of the bracket. But hey, I'm getting ahead of myself. It's just 2-1. This series is long from over, but Dub Nation, you got to be feeling good about what it looks like right now, thanks to Batman and the young fellas stepping up. That's the other thing I'll throw in there. Pods, would he give us 10 points? Clearly looked much healthier than he did in Houston game 2. So he recovered. But there was a sequence of plays down the final 3 minutes of the game where, listen, what is this? His third ever playoff game. And he goes ahead, he gets to the line, he gets hammered by Şengün. Knocks both free throws down, clutch. Then he loses Fred VanVleet on the weak side. Fred stays in the corner, Pods jumps out to the wing, and he's in the corner. And you could hear Draymond, the rim mic picks Draymond up like, Pods, like, what are you doing? There's like 2.5 minutes left. You give up a 3, and you get yelled at in the biggest game of his life up to this point. Next possession, we come down. He gets the ball, power dribbles to the midi, and gets a soft touch over the front of the rim. And I say all that to say, like, he's ready for the moment. He's ready to contribute, and I've got confidence in our young guys. You look at how QP performed. For them to chip in and give the big 3 vets the supplement pieces that they need, the extra push and chip in as much as they need them to. So got to be feeling good right now, Dub Nation. I will be back when they play tomorrow, right? So it's a quick turnaround. Maybe that advantage Houston, right? Because the younger legs, but I'll be back with that one after that game, Monday night. As always, hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.